today we are looking at Unit 6 of the course, which the Unit 6 is looking at development of geographical thoughts. You know, the whole course is looking at nature of geography. We started looking at what geography is concerned. We also looked at what some of the concepts. We came to look at traditions, the need for geography. We looked at methods of geographic inquiry. From there, we pushed through by looking at sources of geographic knowledge. Now, I want to look at how geography as a subject has evolved over time, the metamorphosis that the concept geography has gone through, and some changes or variations so far as the concept geography is concerned. And so that brings us to the area we want to touch on, development of geographical thought. Now, we are saying that geography as a subject historically cannot be studied without looking at some antecedents and some things that have happened over the years. And so it is important that it is said that a country that does not know its history normally doesn't know where, it doesn't inform your forward looking and what you intend to do. And there are various evolutions or transformations or metamorphoses that every discipline goes through, which geography is not an exception. And so tonight we want to look at how geography as a subject has developed over the years, right from the time of the conceptualization of the concept geography, from the historical perspective to the modern geography. So that is what we want to look at today. So, like I reiterated, this is to give you an aspect of historical development of geographies without going into detail, because geographic thought is a whole course on its own, which you may do it along the line. So this to give you some glimpse of how geography has evolved over the time. So we want to look at it from the perspective of the classical geographers, the origins of the classical geography, and here attention is paid to the Greeks and the Romans. The Greeks and the Romans. And we are saying that you remember that the word geography itself is a Greek word, according to Aristotle, who coined those two words, geo and graphia, meaning that writings about the earth or earth writings. Now, as early as 1st century BC, in Greek writing, geography was described in three perspectives or in three dimensions. One was the topographical tradition. And in their description, they divided geography into three traditions or areas. The first one is, and I would like you to pay attention to this area because it is very important. A topographical tradition, according to them, was concerned with descriptions of the earth and the people living on it. That's what they termed as topographical tradition. And they came about this topographical tradition as a result of people traveling from one point to the other, the explorers, and their experiences with their weather changes, the climatic conditions, the exposures moving from one country to the other, led their descriptions so far as geography is concerned. And some of these proponents under the topographical tradition include Herodotus, and that of Alexander the Great, Herodotus and Alexander the Great. Then after topographical tradition, the next one was, don't forget it was three. The second one is the mathematical and astronomical tradition. And here, this tradition was concerned with the measurement of the Earth. It also considered the Earth's position in the universe and how it relates with other stars and planets in the universe. And one of the proponents of this tradition is Ptolemy. Then we have the third tradition, which is a theological tradition. And the theological tradition was so much concerned with trying to answer questions about the very reasons why human beings exist on the Earth's surface. So trying to understand or underscore the relationship that exists between people and the environment. And so they saw the Earth with an order and purpose designed by a deity. This tradition also saw the environment having influence on people, and people were also able to modify the environment, like we talk about environmental determinism, where the environment influence humans and humans also in turn also influence the environment. So these were the three traditions. That is the topographical tradition, mathematical and astronomical tradition, and that of the theological tradition that the Greek, as early as 1st century BC, the Greek and Roman scholars, the Greek scholars provided these descriptions so far as geography divisions are concerned. Now, we want to look at some of the... Yeah, Mary, your hand is up.
Yes, sir, please. Because the network was breaking down, the last point of your explanation, I couldn't get it. Thank you.
Which point?
About the theological traditions.
Okay, so please, Osman, could you help?
Okay, sir. Mary,
Okay.
with respect to the theological tradition, as Sir said, he was saying about we have some certain origins that's of the classical geography and the Roman geography. And the theological geography concerned with answering questions about the very reasons for the existence of human beings on the earth. So as we were saying, as Sir said, he said that we have some three origins here, and some classic origins here of the Greek. How do you call the Greek and the Romans coined it? We have one is a mathematical and astronomical tradition, and we have the theological tradition. With the theological tradition, and we have the topographical tradition, and the theological tradition is concerned with answering questions about the very reason for why people exist on the earth. Are you getting it? So it's considered the relationship between people and the environment. So they had the perception that how some people live, why people live on the earth. That was what they said.
Yeah, so just as he's saying, when you say theological, you see, that brings you to biblical. Are you getting it? The biblical concept, the
Yes,
belief
sir.
system in the religious dance. So in the early Greeks, don't forget that there was a time before, I think in the medieval period, where the Roman Empire was the only authority that any research that you do about the earth, which contradict what the Bible says about the earth, was seen as haram. That's why that issue of what we call the dark ages. Dark ages. If you have heard the word dark ages in the time of geographical history, when we say dark ages, that was the age, the era where the Bible, the Rome, became the final authority that any scientific investigation about the earth which contradict the saying of the Bible was seen as haram, and you'll be punished. That's why we call it dark ages. So in the Greeks and Romans description in that first century BC, around that time, they saw geography in three traditions. The first one is the topographical, which is concerned with about description of the earth, and they did that through their exploration as they travel from one point to the other. And the mathematical tradition, which deals with the measurement of the earth and the position of the earth within the universe and how it relates with other stars. Then the theological is where they want to know the very existence of human being on the earth's surface and how they relate with the earth in terms of the environment they live on. And that's bringing the concept of environmental determinism. So they believe that the earth as it exists was designed by a deity. And all we know, a deity can be God, whoever. And they believe that that environment that human lives, that earth designed by a deity, has an influence in the life of the people who live on it. And the people who also live on it are also adjusting or adapting to the environment. So that's how they divided their three traditions. Are you getting it? Mary?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so with that said, we want to look at contributions of this Greek and Romans in this era, the contributors of geographical thought within this period. And some of them you see their names. So one of the contributors was Homers. So we call it the Greeks of Homers' age. That was before 547 BC. Homers saw the earth as a circular plain surrounded by all sides by an ocean. So that was his description about the earth. So take note, when we are talking about contributors of geographical thought, we are talking about scholars who saw something, who said something, who described, who offered some information through their exploration or their learning about the concept geography. Right from the time of the historical to the modern era that we look at geographical thought. So Homer is one of the people who saw the earth as a circular plain surrounded by all sides by an ocean. That was before 547 BC. Then we have what we call the Anaximander. That was also between 611 547 BC. He saw the earth as a cylinder and tried to represent the world cartographically. And in fact, Anaximander is recognized as the author of the first map of the world. He's recognized as the author of the first map of the world. Then we have Pythagoras. Pythagoras, who also argued that the earth together with other heavenly bodies revolve around a central fire. And this central fire basically referring to the sun, which occupied the midpoint of the universe. So the central fire occupying the midpoint of the. So he saw the earth and the other heavenly bodies as spheres revolving in circles. So you see that all these contributions they are bringing is in a form of astronomical dimensions. Okay. Then we have Plato. He placed the earth at the center of the universe, with the sun, moon, and the planets orbiting around it. And this was captured in his book, what he wrote, The Republic and Timaeus. Now, we have Aristotle, who also saw geography to be concerned with a collection of empirical facts, which eventually led to the measurement of the Earth's circumference. So that's Aristotle's observation. One, Aristotle saw the Earth to be at the center of the universe, and to him, everything below the moon was made up of air, earth, fire, and water. And these things below the moon is subject to change and decay. And those above the moon were made up of indestructible ether. So that is Aristotle's contributions so far as the concept of geography observation is concerned. And our own man, Eratosthenes, he is acknowledged to have made the first accurate measurement of the globe and is described as the father of scientific geography, or the parent of scientific geography. In fact, he did some works so far as scientific geography is concerned. He also developed a system of latitude and longitude, and he published what he called his book that we call the Geographica. From this publication of Geographica is where we had Strabo and Ptolemy made a lot of references from the write-up that Eratosthenes did so far as longitude and latitude and the accurate measurement of the globe was concerned. Now, when we come to the next scholar, that is Hecataeus of Miletus, between 550 to 476 BC, Malthus wrote the first major description of the earth in the book he wrote titled Periodus, or Description of the Earth, which those books were divided into two books, that is Europe and Asia. In fact, Hecataeus was reputed to be a historian. Though he was a historian, his work had hint of intelligent curiosity about climate, customs, flora, and fauna, which could apparently be described as general geography. And these are very key concepts in physical geography that we talk about: climate, custom, flora, and fauna. Is one of the Hecataeus of Miletus contributions. So all what we are trying to let you understand is that we are trying to point out some scholars who have made some contribution to geography. Yeah. So as we try to Google through and try to look at, probably it will get your turn. You may also have to contribute to the area of the subject, geography. So these are some of the contributors, some of the names that we have mentioned: Plato, Alexander, Pythagoras. These are some of their pictures. Some of them too is within the slides as we go along. Okay. The next contributor is Herodotus. Herodotus. He wrote a series of books entitled The Histories of Herodotus, Histories of Herodotus, which he termed his inquiry into history. His inquiry into history. And one of the things Herodotus aimed was to present the astonishing achievements of the Europeans and the Asiatic people. So those achievements by the Europeans and the Asian people, he made an attempt to present them in a codified manner, and how these two races came into conflict among themselves. So by so doing, he provided a wide range account of the known world based on his own experiences and also on existing inscriptions and literary works that have been done in the area, supported his description about Europeans and Asiatic people and how the two came into conflict. So, for example, in one of his books, like book 4, despite his little knowledge about the interior of Africa, which he called that interior of Africa Libya, he was aware that Africa was washed on all sides by sea, except where the areas Africa joined in Asia, except where it joins Asia. So you could realize that Herodotus was one of the people who was at least first to consider the Africa concept so far as his descriptions about the world and some continent is concerned. Now I want to look at the advent of classical former geographers and their contributions. And in looking at that, there are two scholars we want to talk about, that is Strabo and Ptolemy. And I remember I told you that these people read a lot from that of the works of Eratosthenes. They made a lot of references to it. Strabo, in fact, because they are also Greek scholars, Eratosthenes is also a Greek scholar. So Strabo, way back 60 BC, post 21 AD, he was a Greek born at Amasia in Pontus. He did not consider himself to be a pure geographer, but his work enabled us for the first time to obtain a complete and satisfactory view of the state of geographical science. That means he did a good work. In one of the books he wrote, The Geography, he claimed that a definition of geography requires encyclopedic learning, and that all those who undertake to describe the distinguishing feature of the subject geography of countries must devote a special attention in appreciating astronomy and geometry, so that we'll be able to distinguish countries from countries, continent, and how their characteristics make them unique from one way or the other. In fact, he also included terrestrial history as the history of animals, plants, and everything produced by land or sea, and stressed much on the political development of states. And that is Strabo for you. On a smaller scale, Strabo saw geography's utility in hunting. And I'm sure we all know hunting. Some of us will go for hunting, when we're in the village. But these days, we don't go anymore, because my grandfather is no more. A hunter will be more successful in the chase if he knows the characteristics and the extent of the forest. So what he's trying to say is that a hunter will get more meats or more products when he knows the nuances of the forest is entering, the inside out of the nature and manner of the forest, so that he can hit the target rightly. So he assumed that the earth was spherical, lying in the center of the universe, and is divided into 5 zones. He also indicated that its inhabited portions, which was described as large islands, surrounded by size, all the size of it by ocean. In fact, in Strabo's geography, the books that he wrote, he allocated 8 books to Europe, 6 books to Asia, and 1 to Africa. So he also did a lot so far as contributions to geography is concerned. But I think one of his shortcomings is the fact that his work saw the earth as the center of the universe, which we all know that the earth is not the center of the universe. So that's a shortcoming of his work. Now, having talked about Strabo, let's look at Claudius Ptolemaeus, or you can say Ptolemy, the first name. So Claudius Ptolemy, AD 90 to 168, he was also a Greek scholar, an astronomer stationed at Alexandria. And that's why we said that the two made a lot of references to that of their Eratosthenes writings or works. And you can imagine, because they are all Greek scholars, they are all Greek. So you can imagine, they will learn from each other. Now, in his work as an astronomer, he assumed that the globe is at rest in the center of the universe. And the globe is referring to the earth. And provided a detailed table of 33 latitudes up to the Arctic Circle. He defined geography as imitative delineation of the part of the earth comprehended within our knowledge as a whole, with its parts roughly appended. He also talked about what we call chorography, which the chorography he referred to as topography. So he was referring to topography as chorography, and he sees this as a detailed description of selected regions of the earth. He also stressed that geography deals with the whole, whereas chorography considers only parts of the earth, which geography deals with it, the whole. Now, Ptolemy saw the mathematical science to be central to geography. Mathematical science to be central to geography. He showed how to construct a globe. He also dealt with the divisions of the continent into regions and provided a list of major features. And by so doing, it resulted in an atlas he was able to design. And that atlas formed the basic account of the Europe world before the 15th and the 16th Portuguese and the Spanish exploration took place. But one of the shortcomings of Ptolemy was that Most of his works in his geography was based on fundamental inaccuracies. So, for example, one of the fundamental inaccuracies is that he used 180,000 states as the maximum circumference of the Earth to calculate the longitude of the Earth, which was an inaccuracy over there. So, in as much as some of them may have a criticism, these are some contributions that they have done, which they deserve to be commended. So that is that with some of the Greek scholars and their contributions. Any question on that before we come to the Chinese contributions to geography? Any question?
No, sir.
When history, internal, and yeah, there I say, Obia na yeka wasem. So let's look at Chinese contribution to geography. And like I said, these are very important because I can ask you to maybe state some of the contributions of some of these, maybe the Greek scholars, Chinese scholars, and Islamic scholars. So it's very important. Now, the earliest Chinese geographical document is reputed to be the Yonghang. Movanchami, me Chinese into Mamboni here. Movanchami. Yonghang. That is a tribute of you. And that was dated from 6th century. Now, a description of the Shang Empire in the form of its physical geography, and they list the traditional 9 provinces. Through that, they listed the traditional 9 provinces in China and the kind of soils and its characteristic products, and even some waterways that run through them. Most of the Chinese geography was closely tied to astronomy and cartography. So 2 of the famous Chinese geographers were Shang and Finshang, all between 139 AD and 271 AD. These 2 famous Chinese geographers developed a scientific method of cartography based on a rectangular coordinate system. Now, Chinese geographers divided their geography into 5 main types. The first one is the anthropological geographies, which dated from the mid-6th century AD. And so we'll talk of anthropology, those who have been doing sociology and know the study of man, environment, and all those kind of related issues in anthropology. The next one was the description of folks' customs of the countries to the south of China and description of unfamiliar regions, both dating from the 2nd century. The third type of their Chinese geography was the hydrological books. So from the hydrology and coastal descriptions. And the scholars like the Xinqing. The fourth one of their geography is the local topographies and gazettes, such as people like Wuhan, who was a historical geographer way back in the 4th century AD onwards. And their fifth type of geography was the geographical encyclopedias, which was compiled from Xin dynasty between the 3rd and 4th centuries AD. onward in a style similar to that of the Strabo, who wrote a number of books for Greek. So these are the 5 main types of Chinese geography that they wrote extensively about. Now I want to look at Islamic contributions to geography. And here, Osman, Abi, you are a Muslim.
Sir, I just even came
Osman,
back.
Abi,
I just
you are
even
not
came
a
back.
Muslim, eh?
I am a Muslim. I just even came back from the mosque.
Oh, okay, then sorry. So some of the Islamic names, you have to mention it for me. Other than that, they will catch me in haram. Aha. Let me declare my stand before I'm taking on, because there's a Muslim here. Some of the names, because there's no Chinese person here, I was able to maneuver my way. But with the Islamic one, when we get there, you help us. Why?
Okay, sir.
Osman,
Okay, sir.
uh, hey, Vitos, your hand is up. Please go
Sir,
ahead.
you should have told me so I help you with the Chinese name.
Oh, I didn't know we have a Chinese person here.
Oh, sir, that was the next time any Chinese name comes, I'll let you know. I'll help you with the Chinese name.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you very much. Well noted.
Welcome.
Mm. Okay, so with the Islamic contribution, most of their contribution to the development of geography emerged between 7th and the 8th century, especially most of the issues that centers at scholarship issues at Cairo. We know Cairo is Egypt. We have Damascus, Baghdad, and Granada. In fact, if we are talking about geographic history, the whole world, it is an African country who had extensive geographical history, which is Egypt. But unfortunately, documentation was a problem. So if you are talking about geographical, historical development of geography, history is one of the African countries that Egypt is one of the African countries that actually you cannot leave out. But unfortunately, you see, our problem as an African, documentation is a problem. And I don't know if you know the Islamic conquests. Osman, have you heard of the Islamic conquest?
You said
Have you heard the Islamic conquest before?
contest of what?
Islamic conquest.
No, please.
Oh, if you remember, there was a time after the Dark Ages where scientific research and all those things were hampered by the Roman Empire at that time. To your research now, it goes contrary to the Bible. Then it was seen as haram. That's why we call it the Dark Ages. Then from there we went to the Renaissance period, where the conquest came, where at the end of the day there was a lot of disturbances. So through that, we had the Islamic conquest. So what happened was that during the Islamic conquest, the materials and those things that was left as a result of the fight and the disturbances within that time, they translated all these Greeks and Roman texts of the geography scholars into Arabic after the Islamic conquest. All the Greeks and Romans writing texts that was left, they had opportunity. They translated all of them into Arabic. So Islamic geography was greatly influenced by the pilgrimage to the holy places in the vicinity of Mecca, where the travel guards who were helping the pilgrims, that's the people going to Mecca, with descriptions of the journey they are going through and the holy places of Saudi Arabia. So you see how they also contributed to their geography through their Mecca pilgrimage and all those kind of experiences, the guards leading them, is how they also, their contribution, that's how they were influenced. Now, the religious travels brought many Muslims of the diverse intellectual background together. An example of one of the Islamic scholars is Ibn Osman. What's the name? Is it
Okay, sir.
Haradabin? Is it
Is that
Haradabin?
Ibn Quradabin?
Quradabin.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ibn Quradabin.
Ibn Quradabin. That was
Yeah.
a way. Come there, I am home and go fast. As a waha. Because see the way Emmanuel Asante, Paulo said to and those people were waiting to laugh at me to mention the name wrongly. So thank you for saving my life. Yeah, so Ibn was one of the early Islamic geographers who did a lot of work, which we'll mention some of them. So we are saying that their main contributions were topographical accounts. That's Islamic. They did a lot of topographical. And when we say topography, we all know we're talking about the nature of the landscape, whether it's undulating, gentle slope, steep slope, mountainous, hilly, and all those nature, characteristic nature of the earth, and cartographical descriptions of the world. So not only the topographical, but cartographical descriptions of the world as well. They also added some elements of astronomy. So we are talking about topography, cartography, and astronomy, which was greatly influenced by religion. And that's why example is the determination of the lunar movements for the calendar and the determination of the direction to which the Islamic faithful should turn for prayer. You see, all these things, and I think, is it that the Osman, when you are praying, is it that you stand at the east, or you face east or north?
Yeah, we face east.
Okay. Then the lunar movement is when you are doing the festive, the fasting, that when the where the this thing will emerge from, the moon will emerge from. Is that also? Hello, Osman. Oh, Osman, Janeko, Asamaba. Okay. When he comes back, we'll seek more uh, clarification from him. Now, let's look at the emergence of geography as a formal academic discipline. As formal academic discipline.
Sir, please, you called me.
Oh, you
I
are
had
back.
yes, I had a network.
Sorry.
You were asking a question.
Yeah, that was asking about, the lunar movement, the determination of the lunar movement for the calendar.
Mm.
I think one of your fasting that you do,
Yeah.
I think at times you are particular about where the moon will emerge from
Yes, please.
to determine the calendar. That's what we
Yes.
wanted to confirm from
Okay.
you. So these are
And
all.
and what I heard too was about when praying, the direction that we'll be facing to. That was the question you asked.
Okay, sure. So
Okay.
these are all forms of astronomical contributions of the Islamic. That's why we say that in terms of their elements of astronomy, it was greatly influenced by their religion. Now we are looking at emergence of geography as a formal academic discipline. Now, in the 16th century, geography was largely represented by great collections of voyages and travels produced to satisfy the popular interests of Europeans and in the New World, and also to provide statesmen, administrators, and merchants with the information they require to conduct their daily businesses and to plan for the future. And into those slavery and all those kind of people, you could see that before they come, they have a big map, compass, and all those things. So before they come, they have a lot of information within your territory. So in the 17th century, a firm attempt was made formally to delimit the nature of geography as cosmography. And the cosmography, it was referred to as the general descriptions of the world. That's why people say the cosmo. Cosmo refers to what? The world. So cosmography, we are talking about the description, general descriptions of the world. This breakthrough was undertaken by one scholar with the name Bernard Beranus, which in Bernard write-up way back 1620, 1622 to 50, his book that he wrote, Geographia Generalis, what we call the Universalis. This book, there's a lot of things he indicated over there. In that book, he defined geography as being concerned with the earth. He delimited geography into general geography and special geography. In terms of general geography, he defined it as explaining the various plants and general affections. That's why the general sees the earth in general, explaining its various plants and general affections. Then the special look at the general rules, and in the case of individual regions, their sites, divisions, and boundaries becomes the special. He went ahead to divide the special geography into what we call chorography and topography. So the special geography, Bernard further divided it into chorography, which he described the chorography as a description of a region of a medium size. Then topography, the description of a small size place. Small size of a place. Special geography focuses on three things in any region, according to Bernard. The three things that focused on in every region is the terrestrial, celestial, and human. So the human aspect included the characteristics of people, their traffic, and acts. And these are a number of contributions that was done by Bernard Beranus. He also, apart from dividing the special geography into chorography and topography, he also divided the general geography into three parts. The first part is the absolute part of general geography, which was concerned with the body of the earth and its constituents, such as the land masses, rivers, together with their properties such as shape, movement, and size. And these are all examples of those constituents of the earth. The second part of the general geography is comparative part, which seeks to explain those properties emerging from comparison of different places of the earth. Then the last one, which is the respective or relative part. And this relates to the effect of celestial phenomena on the earth. And we are saying that Uranus died at a young age of 28, so he could not write a detailed account of his special geography as he had done to general geography write-up. But even the 28, he has done some. The next scholar is Immanuel Kant. That is between 1724 and 1804. Immanuel Kant's contribution. But before that, any question on that of the Bernard? Okay. So, Immanuel Kant was a German who gave lectures in physical geography. He was a professional philosopher who was so much concerned with geography. So in his lecture and as a professional, he outlined 3 ways of looking at the earth. The first one is that you can look at the earth in mathematical way. The second is that you can look at it in political way, which is concerned what you call political doctrine. And that is concerned with people and their type of government they have. And the third one is to look at geography in a physical way. And in the physical way, we are talking about the natural conditions of the earth and what it contains. So Kant indicated that geography and history together make up all knowledge with geography, being description according to space and history, description according to time. So he believed that geography and history together makes up all the knowledge one needs to know so far as geography is concerned. He said geography is the foundation of history, according to Kant, because occurrences have to refer to something. Occurrences have to refer to something. And he also said that physical geography was the foundation of all other geographies, which I gladly support. Physical geography is the foundation for all other geographical studies. He also talked about mathematical geography, where he defined mathematical geography as a calculation of the shape, size, and the motion of the Earth and its relationship to the solar system. What we call it astronomy. He terms that mathematical geography. Then moral geography, which deals with the diverse customs and characteristics of people of different regions. Then we have political geography, which he described it as the trade linking together areas of excess with areas of deprivation. Then theological geography, which deals with the way in which theological principles are transformed due to differences in the land. So these are some of the terms he came out with and how he explained them. And some of these terms are very relevant. So Kant's geography had profound pedagogic value in the sense that it provided students with a basic framework of knowledge in geography and how they can snowball on that framework of knowledge. It could be used to teach morality and theology in schools. He argued that geography could provide a unity of knowledge, enabling people to orient themselves within the world they find themselves. But there were some shortcomings. We are saying that though Kant's work had great influence on the future development of geography, his theoretical and philosophical work seemed to have been largely ignored by geographers during his own time. Most of geographers do not pay attention to some of the things he was describing, probably because of his theoretical and philosophical differences with other scholars as well. Now, founders of modern geography. One of the founders of modern geography we want to talk about is Alexander von Humboldt. Alexander von Humboldt. Humboldt was born in 1769, and he was also a German, just like Immanuel Kant, who received sound training in biology, geology, and in political science. And he saw the physical descriptions of the world not as a mere encyclopedia of separate science, such as geology, physics, and comparative geography, but he believed that it should be studied as reacting upon and modifying each other. These three: geology, physics, and comparative geography. Hence, the student of physical world should consider the phenomena which deal only in their mutual connection in relation to the different zones of our planet and to its physical constitution generally. So what he's trying to say is that you don't have to study the physical world in isolation, but you must do an interplay connected to other things that influence the physical world. Interplay of the three: geology, physics, and comparative geography, as mentioned. That the listing of peaks, volcanoes, rivers, and their tributaries is no part of physical geography. In his travels, he noticed the dominant role of plant life in the landscape. The dominant role of plant life. That is the rapid transition with increasing altitude from one dominant type of vegetation to another. So as he traveled from one point to another, he saw the variations in vegetation and how some areas are vegetation dominated as against other areas. And so from the tropical jungle of the coast to the subarctic desert of the summit. So the controlling factor was the total amount of heat and its distribution throughout the seasons. So this led Alexander to study the great climatic zones of the world as determined by position on the globe, physical configurations, and the system of wind and current. So based on that, he led to the study of climatic zones by Alexander von Humboldt. On the account of this study, he can be seen as the father not only of plant geography, but also the father of modern climatology. He devised isothermal lines of mean annual temperature, and this is a contribution that has been widely acknowledged. And this was later extended to other elements, especially barometric pressure, rainfall, among other areas. And that is the contribution by Alexander von Humboldt. Now let's talk about Carl Ritter. And it appears that the modern geographers are more German, because Carl Ritter was also a German, born in 1779 and died in 1859. He limited the scope of geography to the Earth's surface and related phenomena. That is, those objects or things that are working directly on the surface of the Earth. And he also included man within its subject matter. So he began his study of history and geography at Frankfurt which led to the development of his powers of observation and analysis of the landscape on tours through Europe. In 1806, he published maps of the physical geography of Europe, and 5 years later, a volume geography of Europe. He also wrote the Erkundung, which is a German word in their write-up. He became a professor of geography at the University of Berlin. And so when he became, before then in 1819, he was a professor of history at Frankfurt. And his approach to geography, he prefers to proceed from observation and never from hypothesis to observation. So what he believes that it's better to go to the field observe than you hypothesize before you go to the. So he believes that first go to the site, have a first hand experience, observe, then from there you can hypothesize and get your data analyzed and other information as well. So he saw the continent as consisting of interior plateaus, terraces, and lowlands united by river courses. On these operated the fluid element of water, air, and fire. And air, we are talking including climates, fire, including volcanic phenomena. And from them emerge their minerals, vegetation, and animal resources that they use. His human geography saw every man as a representative of his native homeland, which has born and raised him. The physical landscape influenced their structure, land build, scar information, temperament, speech, and spiritual development. So what he's trying to say is that in human geography, as he saw, man is a representative or a replica of his native homeland, where he was born and raised. So that landscape they find, that influence their temperament, their speech, their spiritual development, their scar formation, among others. Just like what Levi Gorsky said, that the environment you find yourself also influence your knowledge construction as against people you interact with in a socialist constructivism theory. So he saw Africa with its relative unbroken coastline and large areas of monotonous tropical climate to be destined to be backward and unprogressive. That's what he saw Africa to be. He had a concept of divine premeditation, where he says that Asia, the birthplace of civilization in the East, was designed to permit its achievement to be handed over to Europe, which, owing to its natural condition, was also ready to develop them and to pass on in God's good time to America. So can we say that divine premeditation has come to pass? Because gone are the days, Asia, Europe was trending, and now the superpower is with America now. It's not that the Russia and Chinese people want to take back that superpower from the title from US, but it has not been easy. Ritter may be regarded as a geographical determinist, and many of his observations and generalizations are still valid today, apart from the context in which he fitted them. And we thank. He also showed how, by patient correlation of position, physical features, climates, land, natural resources, an understanding of the individuality of a geographical area could be built. And he challenged geographers to study the world both as a whole and as a group of interrelated units, and also to reflect upon the significance of all these geographical diversities in the history of mankind. We come to the last scholars. There are many, we cannot be discussing all of them. So we want to look at that of one of my French scholars, Vidal de la Blache. Vidal de la Blache, who is a French scholar. He was born in 1845 and died in 1918. And he was born in the southern France. He had a background in history. His background was in history and geography. And he acknowledged having learned a lot from Alexander Humboldt and Karl Ritter. Especially with Alexander Humboldt, he learned a lot from him. From him, he learned never to neglect the milieu. And this became for him the true geographical spirit. For a short spell of time, he was a professor of geography at Nancy. And at the École Normale Supérieure, this is a French word, his success in teaching made geography to be accorded an increasing important place. By his teaching and by his writings, he refashioned French geography. From 1898 to 1909, he was a professor of geography in the University of Paris. To him, geography was not a book science, so he traveled extensively as circumstances permitted in Europe, North Africa, North America, and Mexico. And as regards the relation of man and nature, he emphasized very strongly the importance of geology as a basis of regional differentiation. And he insisted that his students should understand the geological background of a region and trace out its features in the field. And his point of reference was the traditional pays of France. The traditional pays of France, that is the small districts recognized by generations of peasants as being districts in soil aspect, drainage, and fertility, and to which they gave individual names, many of which have survived, such as Bees, Bra, Solon, among others. De la Blache also found the connecting link between nature and man in plant characteristics of each region, and themselves dependent upon soil and climate. And he made references from science of botanical geography or ecology. That is the study of mutual relations of all organisms living in one and the same locality and their adaptation to surrounding environment. And remember that he was the one who also defined geography region as an area which possesses certain commonalities or characteristics that makes them unique from other adjoining areas. So these are some of the contributions people have made so far as geography development or evolution is concerned. And like I said, this is to expose you to some areas of geographical thought. I think it's a whole course that you are going to do along the line. So that is that for what we have for the unit 6. I'll pause here. If you have any question, you can ask. If not, I'll thank you and we'll call it for a meeting, and we'll continue on Sunday to wrap up with the 2 units and we end the class. So thank you very much for your time. And I think the slide is already on your page. So maybe before Sunday, I'll send the 2 remaining slides so that we wrap it up on Sunday. Then we are done with the blog. Thank you very much. Any question or contribution? If not, we call it a meeting.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So
Uh,
before we leave them, let me chip in something. For the unit 6, how would the question be on it? Would it be filling or portmanteau, or we write about it? So just give us the feel of how the questions are going to be.
it can be an objective question. It can also be an essay question. It can be both.
Okay.
In fact, as I was talking, some questions become commanding. So I'm going to tap it down. But you see, when the lecturer is teaching and tells you that this is very important, and some of these comments should give you an indication of what he is trying to stress.
Okay.
Okay. Someone is saying, can you share the question? How can I share the question?
How can? Okay.
But we'll talk about when quiz is approaching, we'll talk about the quiz exams as well. So for now, let's focus on the nature of my questions. When you look at the material, I have review questions, multiple choice questions, and also other questions that will give you an idea of the nature of my questions. Yes, please.
Sir, those of us who want to purchase the book, when are we going to have them?
Where are you located?
I'm at home.
You are at home? So what we can do is that those in Kumasi, I think I've sent about 5 copies in Kumasi currently. And today I sent one to, yes.
So I'll be going for them tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Already one guy has taken one already, so it will be left with 4.
Okay.
And I think the course rep has also said 3 people have given him his money. For the one in Ho, Sunday I'll be coming to Accra. I'll be coming to Accra for teaching practice. So I can, normally I pick a car at Medina where they have whole car there. So if we can arrange, then I'll give it to a car to bring it to you. Or you can also think of EMS.
Okay. Then
so how many of you are in Ho?
Sir.
Yes, please.
Please. I had wanted them to pay the money so that we know how to do the distribution. So
okay.
If so if his name is part of the list, then he should pay the money so that we know. I was talking to those who are far concerning the distribution. That is either via the EMS, so that if there will be extra cost, we can add the extra cost to the money.
Okay, so then deal with them and let me know why. Do we have Isaac Pra here?
So
did Isaac Pra join this class?
Hello?
Yeah, Isaac Pra. Okay, he couldn't join.
Today the network has been very, very bad. Me myself, I joined just about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, sorry.
So Stephen, should I send the money to you?
Yes, so please you can just contact me after the lecture. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Mm.
Uh,
Uh,
So you
please,
let's do
those of
that.
us.
But what I'm going to do is that probably, there are two additional courses or three that I may handle as apart from this one. So maybe the next course that will come, I would like to put the three different materials so that if we are sending it, we will not send one, since we know you are going to do it, so that you can have all the material at a go.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so that would be fine.
Yeah, because it's likely I'll be handling curriculum studies in geography, methods of teaching geography, uh, uh, teaching geography or some course. We have forgotten that one. So we'll look at that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Mm. And Sunday, I'll be in Accra. I'll be doing teaching practice from Monday through to the Friday to the following day. So I'll be going to Achimota Senior High, St. John's Grammar, then Amasaman Senior High, Adanta Fafraha Community Day Senior High School. Yeah, and a lot of areas within Accra. So the lot of next week I'll be in Accra. So by that time, we would have ended our lecture, so there wouldn't be any problem. Okay, so thank you very much for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Sir.
Okay, so we'll meet on Sunday to
Okay, sir.
finish up the course. Mm.
Sir.
Yes.
Please, I had a call from the code, the monitoring team, who is monitoring the I forgot his name. I think it was concerned the lecture. I couldn't inform him
Yeah.
earlier on to do the recording, so he called me to confirm.
Oh, he did it. In fact, in the afternoon,
Yes.
I personally called him, so he recorded it.
Okay.
The lecture was
Okay. Yeah,
recorded.
oh, okay. Because he called me again for confirmation, he wanted to confirm, and I told him yes, we are going to have a class.
Yes.
And he said he's going to
I,
support
I
us.
spoke to him this afternoon, so this lecture has been recorded. The recording is even on. It has not been stopped.
Okay. All
Mm.
right.
Okay. So thank you.
Bye, sir. Okay, sir.
Have a good evening, sir.
Thank
Good
you, sir.
evening. Good evening. Once again, thank you too. They know all bon kasa o. No, baby, I normally appreciate you. They want their voice to be heard. Well noted. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye. Oh, yeah.